All right. Well, welcome to the webinar. You have joined us 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We are going to go ahead and get started right now. For all those that you were prompt and on time, thank you so much for making it. So we will go ahead and get going right now. Well, if you can't see my screen, go ahead and text in, and but you should be able to see my screen at this point. We are doing our very first, we're calling it our Fast 15. This is our very first high-speed webinar, as we like to call it. Our goal is basically to deliver valuable and applicable information based on a very fast and efficient pace. So hopefully this will be applicable to you, and might feel a bit like speed dating, but at the end of this, our hope is that you'll have gleaned some good information that'll kind of help shape your future decisions. So we'll go ahead and go from here. So in this webinar, we're gonna move pretty fast. We're gonna cover two important topics. These topics are gonna apply to you regardless of if you are a first-time investor or already own multiple properties. This afternoon, we're gonna cover how to select the right property from 12,000 kilometers away and how to choose, of course, the right property manager. So let's get started with selecting the right property. Choosing the right property is, this is somewhat of a loose term. There's a few different factors that impact your choosing. Number one would be your goal, your personal goal of what are you looking for in the property, and what's the reason why you're investing. Number two would be your criteria. Three would be finding the property that actually meets your specific criteria, which we'll talk about a little bit. And then again, specifically reviewing the quality of work that's done on the property. In addition, reviewing the area the property is in and the caliber of the tenant the property will attract. And then, of course, lastly is lodging the property that has the best combination of all of these circumstances: your goal, your investment criteria, the quality of the property, and the caliber of the tenant. So let's get started first with all of these, and let's start by talking about your goal. So the very first time you and I ever meet, my first question to you will be, what is your goal? Why are you wanting to invest in the US? Is the reason you're here is to build up a portfolio of property so that when you get them all paid off, that your rental income from the property will actually subsidize or replace your current income? Is that your goal? You know what? Everyone has a goal. Maybe it's better to call a goal a plan. Goal is, I think, so widely used in our nomenclature. So let me share with you a brief story about a current client that we have. He's an Australian client, and he's been investing for right about 2 years now. In 9 years from now, through a pretty disciplined and concise plan that we've put together with him, he's going to have his U.S. investment properties all paid off. He has roughly 7 properties, and out of those, he'll have roughly $60,000 a year coming in after all of expenses coming back to him each year. This was a plan that he had set out from day one, and this was the investing plan that we worked with him on. So, the goal is imperative. I always have kind of viewed a goal as a desire that's strong enough to help you figure out how you are going to purchase the properties that are going to get you to where you want to go. The goal should be something strong enough to keep you committed to your pay down process when you'd rather go on a 1-month holiday or maybe buy that new car that just came out. So once you have your goal and your goal is clarified, then your next step is knowing your criteria for investing. Are you looking for a property that is built after a certain year? Are you looking for a property that is going to be providing an annual return greater than the return that you are getting by having your money in a savings account or the stock market? So if so, what is the return you're looking for? If you're getting 1% a savings account, is anything better than 1% a return that is desirable? If you're getting 6% in the stock market, does that mean that you need to be getting 6% or better in whatever investment that you go into? This is your personal investing criteria. This is one of your decision-making processes. Your criteria, this criteria is imperative to the part of the selection process, a selection process of choosing the property that's right for you. If you don't know what is important to you, then you'll not be able to select the right property for you when it comes along, because you won't even realize the property is in front of you, the right property is in front of you, without having a criteria. A criteria sets the bar. If a property comes along that doesn't meet that expectation, then you don't take it. It's plain and it's simple. The way we work with you is we help you work on your goals, and we can work with you, help refine your criteria. So as we look at properties, we're not wasting your time looking at properties that do not match up with your criteria or will not help you get any closer to the goals that you set out at the very beginning. So now you've got it. You've got your criteria organized, right? We've got, let's say you've got your criteria all sorted. You've now got a perfect 4, 5 properties that all meet your criteria. Now, if you got 5 properties that meet your criteria, and let's say you're only starting with 2 properties, how do you choose out of those 5 which one is the best one for you? So if all 5 properties reviewing meet your criteria perfectly, then we have to look at the other factors that can potentially cost you money down the road to help narrow down the selection process. So some investors automatically assume the age of the property is a factor that they need to be concerned with, when in fact the larger concern is how recent a renovation done on the property is, and the quality of the renovations done. This is a supporting cast to your criteria. It doesn't trump your criteria, but this is just merely one factor that we're looking at, is the quality of the renovations. You know, in every property, there's 5 things we look at on a property that when we're personally investing. And these 5 things are the 5 things of the renovations that were done that will cost money if something goes wrong in the years following your purchase. So amongst these are obviously your heating and aircon, your roof, your water heater, and a few others. Part of our evaluation process and your due diligence is finding out what has and has not been done on the property. So as part of the due diligence process for our clients, we help you coordinate a building inspection report on the property to make all of us aware of anything that may be of concern down the road. So as an investor, you can be prepared for it. Another part of the due diligence process and selection process we will discuss is the area the property is in. Again, this is a supporting cast to your original criteria, but this is the due diligence process. You know, we're looking at the quality of the area and the type of tenants this area will attract due to the caliber of the neighborhood. You know, in every single city, this could be different. For example, in Atlanta, Georgia, where we source quite a few properties, and clients like that city very much, there are areas that are walking distance from the CBD. By all accounts, you would think these would be great areas. Quite on the contrary, in Atlanta, these particular areas happen to be terrible neighborhoods. And in this actual case, the location is great as it pertains to CBD, terrible as it pertains to living. This is a horrible war zone neighborhood, as I like to refer to it. Very, very bad. But it's minutes from CBD. However, in other cities like Charlotte or North Carolina or Orlando, Florida, where we have properties that are also within walking distance of CBD, these are very high demand properties. They tend to attract a high volume of tenant applicants and a high caliber applicant at that. So each area in each city works a little bit differently. So here's the thing about selecting a property. Selecting a property, this is really not an arbitrary exercise. I think it's easy to say, okay, this particular property looks nice, or this particular property, the cash flow looks so good that nothing can go wrong. These are just not prudent approaches. When making a good decision on selecting a property has everything to do with this 3-prong approach of your investment criteria. That 3-prong, as a reminder, is the quality of the property and the quality of the area that is attracting the tenant, and of course, your actual investment criteria. Asking these questions as part of your due diligence process, this will help bring you to an easy decision of kind of finalizing the property that actually meets your criteria. So we're on to it. We have cleared how we're selecting the property, and we can review. We've moved fast so far. We're doing good on time. Now we're on to hiring the property manager. If you remember, this webinar was selecting your property and hiring your property manager. If you already own properties, this is applicable to you. If you don't own properties, this is definitely applicable to you. Hiring the right property manager is important for, not only just protecting your investment and achieving, kind of that reduced vacancy time and maximized income. A good property manager will bring high quality tenants to your investment properties. They will have strong screening process and stay on top of maintenance issues. They'll generally make your life a lot easier by using technology to run this efficient operation and reach a large audience of potential tenants. In every city we source properties, we have a good history with the property managers there. We've invested a lot of time and money in finding them and developing that relationship. What I will share with you that will help you manage your property. Hopefully we can get through this. Let me quickly share with you just a quick clip from one of our property managers actually in the States here.
Hi, this is Wendy from Rentals Orlando. I own a property management company here in Orlando, Florida, and have specialized in overseas investors purchasing over here for long-term rental for over 5 years now. So having lived abroad myself, I understand the importance of having a property management company that really understands you as a client and as an overseas investor. So I was asked today just to kind of give you a very quick, short and sweet idea of what you should be looking for in a property management company here in the States, not just Florida, but all over. So the first thing that I would do is make sure that your property management company knows what kind of client you are, that you are overseas. So communication is key because they're so far away that they really need to understand that you need that reassurance from them that everything's okay with the home. So that would be the first thing. The second would be the system and the software that they use. I would recommend asking that question first and foremost, making sure that any management company that you use has a really up-to-date property management software that can give you access to an online portal so you can see your income and expenses every single month, and also an annual statement at the end of the year. So showing for the full year what came in and essentially what came out. So if there was any maintenance, what exactly that was and how much it cost. So when you're doing your tax returns, you know exactly what that income is and expenses. So very, very important. Number 3 is the tenant screening. So any management company or consult should have an excellent tenant screening process and be able to provide a credit check, criminal check, and nationwide eviction search. Because at the end of the day, the tenant that goes into your property is really going to indicate how your year is going to go and how much income you're going to receive. Because if they take care of the home, there's going to be less maintenance, and obviously if they stay in the property and renew every year, there's less fees for you. So the tenant is incredibly important, and for me, that's what I really look at with any property is who I put in the home. So just make sure any management company that you're taking on as a really, really strong tenant screening process. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So if you
All right, well said from Wendy. Wendy manages a number of our properties in Florida for Australia, and she's actually from Ireland, and her husband is Australian. She's she's just one of our high caliber property managers. She not only understands how to work with all of our international investors, but understands how to be an excellent property manager. Despite the fact that she is a great property manager, it is actually your job as an investor to manage her, the property manager. All property managers have their processes and their systems. You actually have to fit into that process, but just because you have to fit into their process, which can range from state to state, it doesn't mean that you have to leave your brain behind at the same time. You still get to ask all the questions and still get to use your sense in asking them how they're managing your investment properly. So as part of this managing your property manager, we must have kind of a clear expectation on what a property manager does or should be doing for you. We've kind of summed it up into 5 points of what a solid property manager would look like for you. And I'll move through these a little bit quickly and we can revisit them if we need to. So number 1, Use a certified property manager. This ensures that the manager knows the applicable laws and regulations regarding your properties and is well trained in kind of the finer points of property management. Number 2, pick a property manager who uses technology that's actually designed for the profession of property management. There's 5 basically different management softwares that you'll see listed out on your screen there. So number 3, ask how many properties they're already managing and get clarification on how they manage the properties they have. You want to be sure that they have a plan to handle new properties coming in and that they will be able to continue handling the workload that they currently have. All right, number 4. Inquiring about fees and making sure you set clear expectations for how fees are set and managed. One of the prudent practices I've always had is to set aside a couple of months of rent each year to allow for, kind of ongoing routine maintenance and vacancy when it occurs or when a tenant moves out. So. And number 5, your property managers should be inspecting the property a couple of times a year. 1 to 2 times a year is pretty standard here in the States. I think this always shocks some of our Australian clients because I think it's a little bit different depending on where you are there. This inspection they do a couple times a year would include interior inspection. They're checking if the house is appearing in good condition, and hopefully the inspection uncovers any sort of preservation services to make sure the property is well maintained. These inspections are very valuable to you as an investor. Most of the time, these inspections will be very detailed and include interior pictures of the property. It also tells the tenant that the property manager is aware and conscious of the condition of the property. So that's it. We've made it through. So here's the deal. At the end of every webinar, I kind of share with you my own personal take. And despite our how tight on time we are, I'll give it to you now. Investing in real estate is a risk everywhere in the world that you do it. In Australia, you can invest today and the market can stop going up in value tomorrow. Vacancy and maintenance is something that's required on every single rental property worldwide. Your risk is present regardless of where you are investing. Reducing your risk and increasing your reward for that risk is what is in your actual control based on how you select your property through the use of having an actual criteria for investing by evaluating the quality of the property and the area the property is in. Part of maintaining your investment once you have it is done through the effective use of property management and managing that property manager. So we're here to help. I would be happy to work with you as you establish your goals and criteria for investing. I have the good fortune of working with a lot of investors and hearing their strategies, and I glean from their experience and share with you much of my own as we build a strategy of investing kind of around you, your goals, and what your specific criteria is going to be. So this is kind of a customized strategy for you. But I understand if you don't like talking on the phone. We also have a workshop coming up in our Melbourne office on April the 20th at 7 o'clock. So you can get a lot more details about investing in the US there. Otherwise, if you are open to talking on the phone, then I would be it. So, all right, well, we have done it. Unfortunately, we did it in 18 minutes and 30 seconds and not 15 minutes. So we've got something to work on, a goal for me moving forward. Our webinar is finished. So at this point, if you want to ask any questions, you can. There's a chat session on the right-hand side of your screen. Mind you, this is a live webinar, so try not to embarrass me too much with your difficult questions. But I would love to take them if you've got them. If not, then we will go ahead and end the webinar. So we are I'm ready for your questions if you want to bring them in now. So let's see who we've got on here. All right, we've got a question coming through. What is typical property? Thank you for the question, by the way. Question is what is typical property management rates in the U.S.? Good question. So typical management rates in the U.S. Tend to be somewhere between 8 and 10%. This is such a relative rate in certain parts of the U.S. like California, where rents are substantially higher. Maybe rents are a little bit more comparable with maybe rents that you're used to seeing there in Melbourne or Sydney. Their property management rates are somewhere between 4 and 6% in California, whereas in most of the states where we are sourcing properties, property management rates tend to be 8 to 10%. But mind you, rents are also anywhere from $700 per month, not per week, but per month, all the way up to about $1,500 per month. So the management rate is definitely commensurate with the rents in that area. So great. We got another question. What should we expect as far as tenant retention? That's a great question. We try to break our properties into 3 categories. We break them into a cash flow strategy where the properties in the area are going to be predominantly cash flow properties. We have other areas that we source properties in that are going to be a balance of both cash flow and capital growth. And then we've got areas that we source in here in the States that are predominantly capital growth areas. Not that they're negatively geared, they're all positively geared, but they are focused more on capital growth than they are on cash flow. By the way, we don't have any properties that we work with you on that are negatively geared, or for that matter, even neutrally geared. All of them are positive 100%. So as far as tenant retention will be based on what type of area you choose to go in. If you're going to a cash flow area, then you can expect vacancy to generally be a little bit higher. You're probably going to turn a tenant every 24 months. If you go into an area that's a little bit more balanced, you'll be 24 all the way up to 48 months. And it kind of hovers in that area even for areas that are predominantly capital growth. So yeah, tenant retention is always a good question because vacancy costs money. So we've got a question in on how do management companies handle maintenance. Okay, maybe clarify that question for me. I'll take a crack at it nonetheless. But most management companies handle all of their own maintenance in-house, if that's what your question is. The maintenance is conducted by contractors that they work with exclusively. Generally, it's going to save you a little bit of money by working through the property manager. I guess if you're asking, can you find your own people to fix your rental properties? Yes, you could. Generally, the property managers have, due to their volume of business, they've got a little bit better relations with with the contractors doing the work on your property. Those contractors tend to get to know the tenants and are really your eyes and ears inside the property. Will kind of report back to the property managers anything that may be of concern or something that they need to be aware of. So I think that's it. I've kept to wanted to keep you to close to a 15-minute webinar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and give you my email address, and we will and you're more than welcome to go ahead and email me at your convenience if you have any more questions or if you want to schedule up a time to talk. So again, my name is Sky, S-K-Y. It's Sky M as in Mary, Sky M at AmericanPropertyPartners.com.au. And I will go ahead and I will actually go ahead and post it right on here, and we should be off and running. So thank you again for joining our webinar. It's been great having you, and hopefully you were able to get something out of it. And yeah, look forward to talking to you. Thank you. Cheers. Have a good night.